Good evening, everyone. It is so wonderful to see so many people here this evening. Thank you for coming out to our council meeting for Wednesday, May the 20th. I'd just like to let everybody know that this meeting is being audio, video, and recorded and live streamed on the Town of Innisfil's YouTube channel and shall form part of the record, which will be retained according to the town's retention bylaw. I would also like to ask anyone who has their cell phone with them, if you could please put it on silent so it doesn't interrupt our proceedings. And we have a full house tonight. Thank you to staff and members of council. Councillor Drodge is joining us virtually this evening. He's a little under the weather, but thank you for joining us. So we'll call the meeting to order, please. And I would ask Councillor Constantine if she would deliver the land acknowledgement.
The town of Innisfil acknowledges that Innisfil is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich indigenous histories. The town also acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the first people of Turtle Islands. It is shared between the Anishinaabe people of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Turgenev Island First Nation, and we thank them for a generation of stewardships. This meeting place is still the home to many indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunities to work on this land. The town acknowledges the four sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today, were dedicated to honoring indigenous history and culture, and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuits.
Thank you, Councillor Constantine. So our first item is item 2, which is open forum. We had one person who registered earlier today, and then we had one sign up this evening. So the first person who'd like to speak at open forum this morning is Jim Lapierre. Mr. Lapierre, whenever you're ready, sir. At open forum, we like to request that people keep their comments to about 2 minutes, if you would, please, sir. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Lapierre, and that's my wife up there, Shelley. We live at 1000 Bel Air Beach Road. We've been there for over 40 years. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Marvin Geese came over to our neighborhood, and we sat in the back of my neighbor's backyard at his picnic table, and he explained that he was putting 3,000 units up above us over on the 5th line, and that he was going to solve all of our water problems. Now, I was under the impression, because I went to a meeting about this, that town had already planned something, and I was quite surprised to learn that it was the developer's problem. Marvin went on to explain that he would divert all of this water to the creek over on Spooners Avenue, which is where the water goes now. I don't see anything that's going to solve this problem. They think that they got some miracle cure. You guys have let us down so much. I've got 1.5 feet of water on my property right now that we can't get rid of because of the lake level. I know that's not your fault, but I still have to deal with this. And it's just been going on and on and on and on and on. This subdivision, I would very much disagree with it, because it's another 3,000 units of pavement, 150 acres they're going to be using, and it's all going to be down on my lot again. And we're the retention pond for our little community. I suffer a lot of jokes. When are you going to start paying waterfront property, Jim? Well, the jokes have worn off. We're tired of it. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lapierre. Next is Marianne Hofflin. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Hofflin.
Thank you. I have comments to say about the subdivision as well that is being planned on the 5th line. The town, I received a letter from the town in 2023 that in 2024, construction would be started to alleviate 90% of the flooding problem in our area on Bel Air Beach Road. Nothing has been started, nothing has been done, not a shovel in the ground since then. If a subdivision can be put in and they can and guarantee that they will alleviate all our flooding problems, I say go for it. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Hofflin. That's everyone that signed up for open forum this evening. So next we'll go to item 3, which is the agenda approval. So a mover and a seconder, please, to put the motion on the floor. Moved by Councillor Zanella, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any additions or amendments to tonight's agenda other than those on the screen? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Next, we'll ask under item 4 if there's any disclosures of pecuniary or conflict of interest on any item on tonight's agenda. I'm seeing no hands, but if one becomes apparent to you during our conversation, please let it be known at that time. And we'll move to item 5, which is presentations and petitions. And our first presentation this evening is our tourism strategy and asset map. And I believe Amber Green is going to introduce our presentation this evening. Whenever you're ready, Amber.
Hi. Thank you, Mayor and members of Council. I wanted to take a quick moment to just thank the Regional Organization 7 team who helped us in funding. Thank you. Who helped us in funding the development of this strategy and for their staff's support and assistance throughout the development of the strategy. Our team, alongside the KLB consulting team, are pleased to bring forward the tourism strategy, and I'm excited to now turn it over to our consultants, Kira and Tristan, who are going to walk you through the strategy and the key recommendations.
Good evening, Your Worship, Deputy Mayor, and members of Council. Thank you for having us here with you tonight. I just want to make sure you can hear us okay and we're coming through clearly.
We can hear you wonderfully and we can see the screen.
Awesome, great. So thank you. My name is Tristan Vogel and I have here with me my coworker Kira Knapp, and I am here on behalf of KLB Consulting to present the Town of Innisfil tourism strategy. This strategy provides a coordinated path forward for tourism development in Innisfil. It's not about just marketing the town to visitors. It's about looking at how tourism can be better organized, supported, and connected so that it benefits local businesses, residents, and the broader community. So tonight I'll walk through why the strategy matters now, what we heard through engagement, where Innisfil is already competitive, and what the recommended path forward looks like. Next slide, please. Timing for destination management in Innisfil matters because tourism is already active and growing in the community. The town has major visitor draws that I'm sure many of you will recognize, including Friday Harbor, Gateway Casinos, Innisfil, Tanger Outlets, Cookstown, the waterfront, local businesses, sport and recreation assets, great festivals, and some emerging agritourism opportunities. And the 2024 to 2026 Economic Development Strategic Plan had identified tourism as one of Innisfil's 6 key economic sectors, which confirms that tourism is part of the town's broader economic development direction. What is missing is not demand. What's missing is currently a coordinated destination management. Tourism is still seasonal and day trip focused, and there's currently gaps in connectivity, accommodation, visitor information, and operator coordination limited within the town's ability, or is limiting the town's ability to capture more economic benefit from the visitors who are already coming. This tourism strategy is about closing some of those gaps in a practical and community aligned way. Next slide, please. So we wanted to emphasize that the tourism demand already exists. To start, it's helpful to look at that broader tourism context. So within Simcoe County, they're already attracting 9 million unique visitors each year and generate approximately $1 billion in annual visitor spending. And that spending supports restaurants, retail, transportation, accommodations, recreation, entertainment, and many other local adjacent businesses. Across Ontario, domestic travel also remains strong, and more tourism spending is happening outside of the traditional hubs like Toronto, Niagara, and Muskoka. That matters for tourism because the town is close to major visitors market. It sits along the Highway 400 corridor and has that great access to Lake Simcoe. Those are strong conditions for short-term trips, day trips, repeat visits, and four-season experiences. The opportunity here is to help Innisfil capture more value from that demand. Next slide, please. So when we look at that local data, it's telling the same story. In 2024, Innisfil saw more than 685,000 unique visitors and about 14 million total visits across the primary destination hubs that were studied. These included Friday Harbor, Alcona Downtown, Tanger Outlets, and Gateway Casino Innisfil. The majority of these visitors are coming from nearby regional markets. About 44.6% came from within 40 kilometers, and another 40.9% came from 40 to 80 kilometers. So in Ontario, the province defines a tourist as anyone coming from outside of 40 kilometers. So Innisfil has a great draw from both within that network and from beyond. And the town is already drawing these people in. So the next step is making it easier for those visitors to explore more of Innisfil, connect with local businesses, stay longer where possible, and return throughout the year to get a greater economic return on each visitor. Next slide, please. So what did we hear in the engagements? This strategy was shaped by the engagement with residents, businesses, tourism operators, anchor attractions, regional partners, and town staff. Across those conversations, a few themes came through clearly. The waterfront is one of Innisfil's defining assets, but it's not yet being used to its full tourism potential. There is also a need for a more coordinated destination identity. Innisfil has distinct communities, each with their own character, but visitors do not always understand how those places fit together into one destination. We also heard that infrastructure and mobility gaps are limiting growth, both with workforce retention and when it comes to moving visitors between places and encouraging those longer stays. And most importantly, there's a strong appetite in Innisfil for collaboration. Operators and partners want to work together, but they need a clearer structure and more consistent connection points. And we want to emphasize that throughout engagement, people were clear that tourism growth should be well managed and community focused. The goal is not growth at any cost. It is tourism that supports local businesses while respecting residents, the waterfront, and Innisfil's quality of life. Next slide, please. So what makes Innisfil currently competitive? Innisfil already has a very strong destination foundation to build off of. Lake Simcoe and the waterfront are central to the town's identity and visitor appeal. And there are also those major attractions already mentioned, including Friday Harbor, Gateway Casinos Innisfil, Tanger Outlets, and the broader Highway 400 and Innisfil Heights area. There are strong sport and outdoor recreation assets, including parks, trails, boating, fishing, golf, and waterfront activity. There's a real potential in agritourism and local food, especially given Innisfil's rural character, the great farms and producers, and markets and small businesses that exist in the rural areas. And festivals and events are another important strength because they bring people together within the community, build local pride, and give visitors a reason to explore. The strategy is focused on connecting these assets so they function less as individual stops and more like a complete visitor experience. Next slide, please. So this slide captures the main strengths, challenges, and opportunities shaping the realities of the strategy. On the strength side, Innisfil has location, waterfront access that we've already mentioned, those anchor attractions, smaller local operators, and a tourism ecosystem that wants to collaborate. The challenges have also been clear. Accommodation and mobility options are limited. The destination identity is inconsistent. The smaller communities are not always recognizing themselves as a part of Innisfil. And that makes the visitor experience feel fragmented, partly because as well, operator readiness varies across the community. The staff report also identifies that there is no dedicated tourism lead within the town, which limits the coordinated development. And its implementation of this plan, it will need a little bit of coordinated response from the town. The opportunities are significant, and Innisfil can strengthen that regional alignment with Tourism Simcoe County and RTO 7, improve physical and digital wayfinding, develop themed visitor experiences, encourage more year-round visitation, and prepare for future opportunities connected to major attractions. Next slide, please. So this strategy is built around a simple vision: that Innisfil becomes recognized as a welcoming four-season destinations where visitors experience the town's waterfront, small communities, and local culture in ways that can support the local businesses, respect residents, and contribute to long-term prosperity. And so the strategy is organized around three pillars. The first is capacity building. This is about strengthening leadership, coordination, workforce readiness, and data collection. The second is development. This is about building visitor-ready experiences, supporting longer stays, and capturing more local economic benefit. And the third is stewardship. This is about making sure tourism growth aligns with community priorities and long-term planning. These three pillars taken together all work in tandem. Innisfil needs coordination to grow tourism effectively, and Innisfil needs coordination to grow tourism effectively, and development to create visitor experiences and stewardship that make sure that growth is managed responsibly. Next slide, please. So what this means in practice. In practice, the strategy focuses on two main areas: building the foundation and then growing the destination. So building the foundation means clarification of leadership and governance amongst the different levels, continuing to develop the tourism network within Innisfil, supporting businesses and workforce readiness, and improving how tourism activity is tracked and reported, and making data-informed decisions. The tourism network is especially important because it gives operators, anchor attractions, partners, and the town a more consistent way to connect and collaborate. Growing the destination means developing market-ready experiences around key themes that connect to a sense of place in tourism. In Innisfil. Other things include improving wayfinding, supporting longer stays and itinerary building, and helping operators connect to regional marketing, funding, and product development opportunities. The focus for this is simple: make it easier for visitors to understand what Innisfil offers, move between experiences easily, and spend more time and money locally. Next slide, please. And regional alignment is a big part of the solution, because Innisfil does not need to build the tourism system alone when there's great assets already available. Tourism Simcoe County and Bruce Gray Simcoe RTO 7 already provide great research, marketing channels, product development support, funding opportunities, and regional platforms. The tourism strategy recommends making better use of those existing systems and connecting local operators to them more consistently. And there's also the opportunity to build cross-boundary itineraries, especially around Lake Simcoe and across Simcoe County. Visitors don't experience the municipal boundaries the same way that we do, and so making sure that we're looking for connected experiences that provide simple information and good reasons to keep exploring around the area. And so by aligning with regional partners, Innisfil can extend its reach without duplicating work that already exists and taking advantage of those pathways to programs that are already existing. Next slide, please. So to close, Innisfil has a strong foundation for tourism development. The town already has visitor demand, recognizable attractions, a defining waterfront, local businesses with growth potential, and partners who are ready to collaborate. The strategy brings those pieces together into a coordinated path forward. It supports local businesses, strengthens the visitor experiences, it encourages greater local spending. And that helps to ensure that tourism growth reflects the community priorities. As outlined, we thank you for your time, and we are happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you very much, Tristan, and we'll go to members of council for questions or comments. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Two questions. Right now, during the presentation, there was a lot of emphasis on the waterfront. if you take a look at Ward 1 and Ward 7 and you see the agricultural lands there, there's an incredible amount of opportunities for agritourism. Has that been investigated in a deeper fashion? Because, I mean, we have enough right now when it comes to the waterfront that the weekends, downtown Alcona, like right by the waterfront, it's always packed, parking is limited, people are always there. Like, we have a good representation when it comes to the waterfront. People know about the beach. They know about 9th line, 10th line. They come and they come here, but no one really speaks about anything beyond that point. What can we do to emphasize that or build on that? And then the second question I have is, what is the frequency that the town speaks with the county of Simcoe regarding any sort of event regarding tourism? I know that they do frequently, but I'm just wondering how frequent, because the county itself has multi-town platforms for biking, for motorcycles. They're developing one, another one for local breweries and restaurants. So what is the frequency that they speak with the county in regards to that? Thank you.
Thank you. Tristan?
Yeah, so through your worship, thank you so much for your questions. So yes, there's a lot of emphasis on the waterfront. I think that that's, like you mentioned, what Innisfil is currently known for. And so there is the need to manage the numbers that are currently coming to the waterfront, and ensuring that, I mean, you said it perfectly, making sure that people know what else is available within that space. So if they are coming to the waterfront, what else can they experience, while they're here, to extend that stay? And also not take away from that being one of your defining assets and the opportunities that there are to manage that and capture people within that. But I think that comes back to messaging and how you can communicate with that visitor of what else is available and grow. And that comes with growing experience development and having those pieces in place, and also making it easy for the visitor to find that information, travel between those spaces, and make it a fluid experience. And for the second question, I'll pass that one on to Amber to respond to.
Ms. Elliott?
Yes, through your worship to Deputy Mayor. I think I can add a little bit to Tristan's first answer for the first question, and then I can touch on the second one as well. But for the first question, a lot of the recommendations within the strategy touch a lot on sort of cross promotion throughout the town. So a lot of how do we get some of the bigger hubs like Friday Harbor, Tanger, the casino to cross promote some of these smaller businesses and encourage people to go check out downtown Alcona, downtown Cookstown. How do we do that through like self-guided itineraries? So while you're on your way to Friday Harbor, stop here, after Tanger, grab lunch here. So there are a lot of recommendations on that to kind of help visitors understand more to Innisfil than just the waterfront. And then I would say to the second question, we do talk pretty regularly with Tourism Simcoe County. And I think a lot of the strategy is really kind of identifying the difference between what Tourism Simcoe County can do versus if the town had a designated sort of tourism focus and leader within the town. So I would say, yeah, they do have the motorcycle route, the brewery tours, an agri-tourism map, and we are featured somewhat on some of these plans, but I think since we don't have a designated tourism voice right now, or we previously haven't, there's not as much someone that can raise. We do have these awesome farm side stands to add to your map, and we do have all these unique agri-tourism experiences to add to your map. So I think with the strategy and kind of honing in on the plans for Innisfil and our voice, it'll really allow us to better market ourselves, but then also to better connect with Tourism Simcoe County and help them kind of market Innisfil.
Thank you, Amber. Other questions or comments? Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have two questions. It says the budget requirements for 27-28. Have we hired a staff member for that yet? And my other one is with the tourism strategy, with Ice Corp not being able to do Onion Fest this year, And the Rib Fest seems to be pushed out of downtown Innisfil. It was downtown, it was on the beach, then it was in IRC, then it was at the racetrack. And now this year I heard it's being held at the Tanger Outlet Mall. It seems instead of bringing that big tourism draw to us, we seem to be pushing that one event away. Is there a reason for this? I don't know who can answer that one.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Saunders. On the first question, we have noted budget requirements within the report. As we don't currently have a dedicated tourism fund, we have not done any hiring, but that's certainly something that we will be proposing through the 2027-2028 budget process. In regards to your second question, I can't speak specifically to any challenges the festivals may be experiencing or why they might be relocating. But I think one of the themes that comes out in this, both in the community engagement and in the recommendations, is the need for coordinated liaisons and coordinated support for festivals and events to help them take on some of the planning and coordination at a higher level that would support ongoing activities year after year.
Councillor Constantine?
Will there be measures taken to ensure that tourism infrastructures like expanded trails or beach amenities remain accessible and enjoyable for Innisfil local during peak season?
Who wants to take that one? Go ahead, Amber.
Through your worship. I think I can start off and maybe Tristan can add. But yeah, I'll just start by saying that we did do a lot of kind of community engagement. One thing we really wanted to focus on was not just kind of mass tourism, but kind of community-aligned tourism. So we did a lot of community consultation to kind of understand the community's needs and wants and make sure that we are preserving sort of the trails we have currently and the assets we have currently and kind of really taking a sustainability lens. One of our 3 pillars is stewardship, and it really relies on sustainability. So that's definitely seen throughout the recommendations. I don't know if Tristan, if you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, that's where it's a great opportunity for tourism planning is that you're able to then share which trails you market out more widely, and then which ones can stay more in the community. And we looked at that when we were looking through the Trails and Parks master plans to make sure that we were staying aligned with those and weren't highlighting things that weren't wanting to be shared wider than things that were highlighted for community use. So maintaining those, and I think that comes down to how it's planned and how it's maintained rather than just having tourism happen to you.
Thank you. Councillor Waters?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks very much for the presentation. Just a few questions. One that everyone seems to talk about is waterfront. Waterfront this, waterfront that. Most of the waterfront in Innisfil is controlled by private residents. We have a very, very small footprint in terms of a bunch of road ends, plus we have Innisfil Beach Park. And we talk about a tourism strategy and we're doing all this stuff to the park for tourism reasons. And I certainly understand that, why we'd want to do that. But one of the biggest complaints, we have a conflict between residents and the tourists that we want to attract. And the issue is residents feel right now that they can't even use their own parks. So when Innisfil Beach Park gets filled up, we have all the small road end beaches, and that's where they go to. But now the visitors are even finding those that residents feel that they moved up here to live on Lake Simcoe and enjoy it, but they feel pushed out because of a tourism strategy that's only going to intensify that conflict. So my question is, and in terms of an economic development, is that we have no strategy around land acquisition. I remember my first term, we talked about, allowing the head of the director of operations to bid on properties that came up. Not one single property came available. Oh, one property came available, but we always lost out because we were because we're a municipality, we're slow-moving. And so my question is that how do you resolve this conflict between what residents want to have available to them and a tourism strategy, which is dependent on promoting Lake Simcoe and attracting those people to that? So, thank you.
Who wants to take that one? Director Thompson.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Waters. The sentiment that you're expressing is certainly not new. It was expressed quite vocally within the community engagement piece, both by residents and businesses as well, in terms of wanting to make sure that there was sustainable growth, and growth which complemented and did not overwhelm the current infrastructure, community, atmosphere, character of the community. I think that that's why it shows up so clearly as one of the 3 strategic pillars. So I would say your sentiment is heard, and I think that's why some of the recommendations are recommending a proactive and strategic approach to tourism versus a reactive approach that we currently have right now. If I think about even, for example, festivals, without taking a proactive approach in terms of where we would like those to take place, where it makes sense, where we have the infrastructure and amenities, if we don't take a proactive approach to that, businesses and festival organizers will find their own way, and it may not make the most sense to the residents. So that's what we're proposing, is a strategic and sustainable path forward.
Thank you. One other question is that I see no mention of Indigenous partnerships, Indigenous events, that type of stuff. So I'm just kind of curious, where does that group fit into this strategy?
Through your worship, I would say that we are making every effort to reach out to a large range of demographics. That is one of the reasons why we're proposing an Innisfil tourism network, so that we are able to reach out and compile a contact list, not just of businesses and tourism stakeholders, but the people that they represent, the communities that they represent, the communities that they affect. So we are working on building that network and have made quite a few strides through the community engagement, but we still have work to do in that regard.
Okay, thank you. So I like the idea of having a strategic plan for tourism. So I think I'm glad to see one. I want to make sure that the residents are being heard in terms of what their issues are and how do we balance those two. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. I was going to bring up a lot of the similar comments as some of the other councillors, just stressing the need for balance, right, with what residents expect and what the tourism will bring us. I read a section of the report where it says residents support tourism to a certain level, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. The other thing I wondered about, I like the fact that we're trying to collaborate together. I think when I think of agritourism, that's been brought up a few times, everybody's looking for an experience, right? And people find those experiences on your cell phone now. So I'm wondering about the communication angle on that. Is there some branding that we can work with? There's those stories where agritourism spots, there's a friend of mine in Innisfil that grows sunflowers every year, and that Saturday when there's a post that goes out on your whatever social media channel, and an hour later the parking lot is jammed. Those experiences, that's the route that people are looking for, and I'm just wondering how the strategy addresses some of that.
Through your worship, there will be a communication strategy for the tourism strategy itself, but I might ask our economic development champion, Amber Elliott, to speak to two examples recently. One was an agricultural success story, an agritourism success story that she had coordinated, which mentioned some of the farm stands that you're perhaps referencing, as well as our recent lakeside dining campaign, just to I'm sure she may have some of those numbers off the top of her head. I'm putting her on the spot, but just to exemplify the type of reach that we have so far without that communication strategy in place.
Yeah, so I think the first one being last year's Discover Lakeside Dining campaign, which was our most successful marketing campaign to date. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact statistics, but it was something like 4 times kind of the usual reach and engagement that we get. And it drew quite a lot of people to our website. So I think that kind of shed light on the need for dedicated tourism website pages. So at that time, we just had one. I think we actually currently still just have one, but we're working on 3 dedicated tourism brands. So Shop Innisfil, which we've been kind of doing over the past several years. The Taste of Innisfil, which is a more comprehensive lakeside dining campaign that's running this summer. So it actually expands outside of those lakeside restaurants and takes on the whole town to promote. And then a general kind of explore Innisfil one. So I think that's kind of one way within the strategy as well. It definitely touches a lot more on sort of social media channels and engagement and Google Analytics and things like that. But yeah, and then we also did a recent success story featuring the County of Simcoe and Laura's Farm Stand. And then it kind of went off to talk about additional farm stands as well. Yeah, I don't have the exact statistics off the top of my head, but again, both of those perform very, very well. So excited to see how tourism could grow.
Through your worship, I can jump in as well. I think that I'm so happy to hear folks hitting on agritourism, and it was also important for us to underscore that in the strategy because of we talked about the strategic location of Innisfil being so close to a city center where folks may not have that opportunity to connect with rural experiences. We have had clients in the past who they have folks come down from Toronto to pick apples and they'll drive 4 hours and to have an experience, and then doing high yield, low volume experiential tourism development as well, which addresses some of the concerns of over tourism and tourism that doesn't give back to the community. And by that, I mean like regenerative and adds to the community well-being, and it's not extractive. So that's really important for us as a philosophical piece of our strategy, and also sort of as a company and to help build community development and tourism in a way that better supports the community. So I'm loving the questions that we're hearing today because they're all really important to us and things that we asked ourselves as we developed the strategy as well. So thank you.
Other questions or comments from members of council? I had, I think, one question and then a couple of comments. So my question was around item, I guess it was Schedule 3 that talked about the MAT tax, and I believe that was one of the original, I think it was Action 3.2 to initiate that. And I guess my question would be, would that come before or during or after the short-term accommodation is considered by council? Director Lee?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. So the MAT tax would be considered after consideration of any short-term licensing proposal coming before council.
Thank you. And I was glad to see like Deputy Fowler talked about action item 8.1, which is maintaining that alignment and partnership with our regional tourism organizations. I think that it talks about holding quarterly meetings with Tourism Simcoe, who does have a fairly long-standing and impactful strategy for tourism, including things like they go to the golf show and they highlight all the golf courses in Simcoe and marinas and so on. And with our TO7, which is the Regional Tourism Area 7, which is also called, I believe, Bruce Gray Simcoe. And I think that that when we sit down and think about it, there's a lot more in Innisfil that we take for granted maybe and don't think of it as often as a tourism draw, like our wedding facilities, like Three Feathers and Belcroft, like the Toronto Skydive. Lots of people come in for that. South Simcoe Theatre. Cookstown has, as long as I can remember, done everything they could to attract tourism to their area, including the upcoming Wingding that is in a couple of weeks, the Georgians Bay Steam Show in the summer. And I know that Ms. Elliott's been to the Cookstown Chamber of Commerce to speak to them about tourism opportunities and how we can partner to help them become more of a tourist destination. And all of these things matter because, and I understand that there might be some resistance from people who live close to the lake who don't want the crowds there in the summer. But I think Tristan said it perfectly when she said, you know, we have to figure it out, because it's just going to, having tourism happen to us is not the way to go. I think that I think that much of the work that's currently going on in Innisfil Beach Park is to enhance the park for our residents and not for tourists. The fact that we have a resident-only parking, which I don't know of any other park that you can't even pay to park there. And if you're a resident, unless you're a resident, you can't park there. But I think the big issue we've always had with our Jewel Park is the fact that it's I forget how many acres, I think around 11, could be more. But everybody only wants to be in that sliver right by the water. And what all this construction is doing is trying to utilize the entire park, putting the pickleball and the tennis like far away from that to start to utilize all the space that's there, but also to use it more than just sunny, hot weekends, and use the shoulder seasons and draw people, local people, to use the park more than just for the beach. So I think that that's an important part of it. And while we have a lot, I think we underestimate what Simcoe County has. I was very surprised to learn that Simcoe County is has the fourth largest tourism draw in all of Ontario. It's Toronto, Ottawa, Niagara Falls, and Simcoe County. So there's a lot there, and a lot to explore, whether it's the Tottenham steam train going up to Wasaga Beach and Collingwood. So it is a really popular area, and we're at the gateway of that area. So I think that if we don't kind of capture this economic development opportunity, I think it's our fault. But I think we can make it other than just about one park. We can make it about the Tanger Outlet Mall and the casino and all of the other things that draw people to our community. The last thing I'll say is one of the I think, biggest disappointments when they were dividing the province up into the different zones for the RTOs was being at the very edge of RTO 7. So I know that the Cookstown folks feel a little bit on the edge because the people they would partner with mostly would be maybe Alliston and Tottenham and Beaton, and they're in a different regional tourism district. So finding that edge mapping, I think would really help as well. But I was really happy with the strategy. I think Innisfil's go-to, like since I've been on council, has been tourism. That's go to Simcoe County. That's their jam. And I think having used that resource, but have somebody local who is kind of responsible for that, I think we're there. And I just want to comment and thank KLB for the work that they've done, and Amber for the work that she's done in the economic development team, because I think it's a good, solid plan. It's not an overreaching plan. It's not a pie in the sky plan, but it's a place to start, and I really think that I'm in favor of the recommendations, the 31 recommendations that are in the report. Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. You brought up a point that I had been thinking about earlier, and that's around the MAT tax. And I'm wondering if this is passed tonight, does that automatically mean that the MAT tax is included as well? I can see there being some complexities around that. We have your bed and breakfast people. You mentioned short-term accommodations. We already have not enough accommodations in the town. I'm just wondering on just having that right away, or it's in a stage, I understand, but going to that immediately, I know that seems to be the way of municipalities now. They just want to, a MAT tax sounds great, so if the neighbor's doing it, we're going to do it too. But people only have so much money to spend, and if you leave that in their pocket, perhaps they'll spend it on their trip on businesses. And I know there'll be some bureaucracy around how you collect it and whatnot, and I'm curious what we plan to spend those funds on as well. So happy to hear more about that.
Director Thompson.
Thank you, through your worship. Councillor Ices makes a good point in that does need to be carefully thought out. It would not be explored without extensive community consultation. And I think to Director Lee's point, it makes sense to do that after short-term rentals are explored. We know that there are approximately 334 active listings in Innisfil of short-term rentals. We also know that there are additional accommodations being planned within the town, so that is something that we certainly want to explore. I will say the reason why we have the MAT tax appendix within the report is simply because as this came up both through the Economic Development Strategic Plan and through the community consultation and consultation with our partners at R207 and Simcoe County Tourism, they had noted that they just happened to develop a plan on how to instruct municipalities to go through the process. So we essentially leveraged KLB's expertise and got that added in as an unexpected bonus of working with them. So that document there within the appendix lays out the process that a municipality would go through, and it does include consultation. I'll also note that within that appendix to one of your other questions when you asked what we would spend it on, I would say right now it's premature to explore what we would spend it on. There are restrictions in terms of what we can spend it on, but various municipalities have taken different approaches, whether it's on tourism-facing infrastructure and placemaking, bike racks, et cetera, or whether it's on marketing and destination promotion through things like the trade shows that Mayor Dolan mentioned. So it's premature at this time to make any assumptions about how it would be spent, but that would be something that would be explored through that process.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So just for clarity, if council passes this tonight, we're not necessarily passing a MAT tax.
Director Thompson.
Sorry, that is correct. That is, it is a recommendation of the strategy and would be explored along with the other recommendations noted.
Other questions or members of council have any other questions on this item? Not seeing any. Mover and a seconder, please, for the recommendation or for any revised recommendation. I'm seeing Councillor Waters and Deputy Fowler. Last comments. All those in favor of the recommendation? That is carried. Thank you very much. Great report. Next is delegations from members of the public, invited guests, and members of staff. And our first presentation is from Allison Jacks. Allison is the president of the Innisfil Lions Club, and she's here to talk about an event that they're planning.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Thank you, Council, for having us here. I'm representing quite a few Lions who have joined me. we're pretty excited about the summer coming up. Next slide, please. So the Innisfil Lions Club, as most people know, have been serving this community for over 50 years. And part of that has always been fundraising. We're lucky enough to have a hall right in the center of town, and it's a great opportunity to fundraise when you don't have to rent a venue and you can explore different options. It gives us the opportunity to raise a lot of money that goes back to the community. So since COVID, you can see up on the screen, we've been running fundraising activities, and it's been growing year over year. These funds have been going back to different organizations that support Innisfil and surrounding area that Innisfil residents use the services of. Examples being the Food Bank, C4K, CMHA, the Women and Children Shelter, and many, many more. We also support a number of Lions organizations with the funds that we raise. Next slide, please. In 2025, our club organized 9 Lions clubs to raise money for RVH. With the help of Lions International, we applied for a grant matching program, and we raised $37,500 that was matched by LCIF. And we were able to buy 2 much-needed pieces of equipment for the NICU at RVH, which will certainly benefit the Innisfil community and many as RVH becomes more and more recognized as such an important health facility, helping so many. And in doing this, we recognized our ability to fundraise and our desire to continue to support RVH. Different organizations supported by the Lions Camp Dorset is a camp up north that supports families who can't get away because someone in their family is on dialysis. So that is a very important initiative for us. We're also very excited to get more involved in fundraising for the South Campus of RVH as that grows nearer and nearer. Next slide, please. So in order to do this, we decided to jump on the bandwagon of many Lions clubs, but none in this area, to run a car draw. We are selling 5,000 tickets, and this will give us the opportunity to raise a significant amount of money that will continue to go back to local organizations, and we will be able to make a meaningful contribution to the RVH South Campus, Lions Camp Dorset, Innisfil Teen Nights, the library, and so on and so forth. It's very important to us where we have the ability. We have a great Lions Club right now, and we're very enthusiastic that this is going to be a big success. Next slide, please. So, in addition to serving the community and fundraising for the community, the Innisfil Lions Club strives to be a community hub and connector for people in Innisfil. We have a number of events that everyone here is familiar with. We have bingo, we have a dart league, we have kids bingo, we have euchre, we have a Canada Day celebration for families. Most of these events are free and they are inclusive to all. We don't have any events that aren't open to the community, and we really work hard to promote and encourage the community to come out and participate on some level that interests them. So, surrounding the car draw, we decided that we would like to have a summer event to celebrate drawing the winning ticket of the Honda Civic for the car draw and to connect the community. It's timely that we're delegating today when we've just had this strategic plan on tourism and the discussion about events for people in our community, that's exactly what we're hoping for. Unfortunately, Ice Corp no longer has Onion Fest, which so many of our residents enjoyed. It's a great opportunity to come out, meet your neighbor, meet new neighbors, and I think that's missed by many. The Rib Fest, as Councillor Saunders mentioned, is seeming to be less and less of a town event, more of a tourist event. We would like to host a lot of fun people, not like you folks, fun people, to come out this year, this summer, and celebrate with us on our property, which is at 982 Innisfil Beach Road. We're going to have a safe event. We're already in the works of lots of planning, lots of safety. We're fencing off our property. We've hired professional security. We've requested paid duty police. We've got lots of volunteers. We're reaching out to the ICP, the Innisfil Community Partners, to help us. We have a great club, but it's all hands on deck. So we're hoping that we can have the support of the town and council, and that includes any direction that we may not have thought of in order to ensure that it's a safe event. We've been dealing with bylaw, and we've already reached out to the neighboring residents to get their support. We're in the process of talking to the local businesses, respectfully understanding that parking is always an issue and that we're not suggesting that our event should take over every private parking lot in the vicinity, but it is a reality, so we want to be transparent and upfront about that. And yeah, we just really want to get the word out, and we're hoping that this can become an annual community building event for the town of Innisfil. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Jacks? I would say that you're on our agenda later tonight for your noise exemption
Yes.
certificate, so,
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
And I've got 3 tickets. I'm excited about that, and
Nice.
also excited to have a ticket for that evening, and looking forward to a fun event. And to get this many of your members out on a Wednesday night to support you shows the amount of support that the Lions
I'm working
has.
them to the bone. They're all invested in this. Well, I thank you for your time, your worship, and council. In closing, I just want to say I've set aside 10 tickets for each of you, so you can see Teresa on your way out to buy them. And we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mover and a seconder, please, for the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Saunders and seconded by Councillor Constantine. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We're looking forward to it. The only thing, last quick story, when Allison reached out and asked if I would draw the winning ticket, I thought, oh, that means I can't win. But then it occurred to me, does that mean I have to stay up till midnight? But she assured me it would be like 9:30. I wouldn't have to stay up that late. So thank you for that. All right. Thank you so much for that. And our next item on the, we called a vote, didn't we? All in favor, yes? Okay. And then we'll go on to our next delegation, which is Darren Vella from IPS and Marvin Geist, who are going to speak to us about an official plan review inclusion.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Good evening. As you mentioned, my name is Darren Vella from IPS Consulting. I'm here accompanied by Marvin Geist. Can you go to the first slide, please, Sam? Great. Okay, maybe the second one. Next slide, please. There we go. So we're here this evening on behalf of DLR Holdings and a subsidiary company who owns the parcel that's outlined in red on the map. This is the larger context map, but the lands we're dealing with today, they're 53.8 hectares, and DLR has owned these lands for over 25 years. IPS, myself personally, has been retained and been trying to work on this property to advance development since 2017. So it's been about 9 years. This is actually our second official plan update that we're participating in through the town. There's been a couple since my office has been retained for this site. So this is the second go-around relative to updating the land use permissions relative to the property. Next slide. So what the proposed draft of the official plan is indicating for this site to date is the status quo. So what that means is even though the lands are located within the Orbit secondary plan area, which is approved by council, these lands are going to remain designated as agricultural, and they're not going to have any sort of development permissions under this draft of the official plan as it stands today. So that's why we're actually here before you this evening. Next slide. So one of the main reasons we're here, as I'm sure council's aware, there were a few open delegations earlier this morning, is this area does experience historical flooding problems. And one of the main starting points for correcting flooding in this area relates to the DLR lands and creating a bypass channel that is going to move the water from heading to the south and pushing it to the north to get away from the Reed Drive, Spooner Avenue area. So these are just a couple of recent articles that have been posted, obviously showing frustration from residents and just dealing with an historical flooding problem that has gone on for many, many years. Next slide. In the town did cooperate with Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority. There was an approved EA. This is an excerpt out of the March 2020 report. This identifies the number of homes and estimated flood damage, which is a considerable number, as you can see here on this slide. These numbers do not even involve town costs dealing with flooding. So I just wanted to point out that these are estimated numbers that were taken out of a report that was produced on behalf of the town. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Marvin.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren. Go ahead. Yep. Relax. Members of council, I was retained by DLR approximately a year ago. And I didn't know who DLR was because I've acted for limited partnerships in the past who promise all kinds of things and they don't have the depth, they don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge. So I looked at the principles of DLR, and you have in front of you their resume, and that's Mar King Construction Company Limited, who've been around for a long time, who do, with all due respect, have a responsible track record. They are involved in creating infrastructure, reconstruction of roads, building bridges, stormwater facilities, water mains, sanitary sewers, and works of all kinds. So these people have the credentials to do what they promised. As a matter of fact, they've entered into agreements with this municipality to undertake stormwater management in building a bridge in an area. You can see that. So when they sign an upfront agreement, as others have in this municipality, they're bound by that contract. When I acted for Geranium and later on the DG Group, we entered into many agreements promising many things, and those things are there, one of your major tourist attractions. When I acted for the Alcona Developers Group and we entered into our agreement with the town, we promised many things, and each and every one of them has come to fruition. We paid for the road widening of the Innisfil Beach Road. And shortly, you will be paving the 7th line, and we paid for that. And that was all contractual. We were responsible. I suggest that these clients are responsible, and we look forward to working with the town and your engineering department and our engineering department to see which is the best way to correct a problem that has been there for years, even before my time. As a matter of fact, I remember when I was 10 years old, I would have to drive by or try and drive with my parents by the Warwick store. And the Warwick store was at the corner of Maple and Ewart Street. It's now an ugly building with a mansard roof, okay? But you couldn't get through because of the flooding. And there wasn't any flooding in those days at Bel Air Beach Road. The flooding came in the 80s when the town put in the sewers and the roads became higher and they became dams, and the water, instead of percolating down into the lake, went north and has added to the problem that exists today. My client is prepared to upfront the charges with respect to remediating these problems once our lands are approved and in the settlement area. We will enter into those contracts, front-ending subdivision agreement, but we've got to get on with these things. As Darren said, client has owned it for 25 years. I know that there have been consultant studies for 10 years. And everyone says, well, we have to wait until such time as another development is approved and finalized. I suggest to you we can stand on our own 2 feet. There are merits here. The flooding causes damage. It's a matter of health and safety. And I put it to council that you should be addressing this problem ASAP. So, in conclusion, I would ask that a resolution be passed that we be included in the settlement area so we can sit with you and start negotiating how we're going to correct the problem. Meeting with your engineers, meeting with our engineers and our entire staff. And it's a win-win situation. We're going to pay. This isn't the first time a developer's had to pay. Growth should be paying for growth. That's why we're here. And I thank you very much. I would like to entertain any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Geest and Mr. Vella. Questions of members of council? Councillor Zanella?
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there any guarantee that it will work by fixing the, because you said something a few minutes ago about it going north, and then you said it would go north again, so.
Okay. When it comes to the engineering, your engineering team and our team will meet to come up with a game plan that will resolve the situation. Is there a guarantee? That's the goal and objective of your engineers and our engineers. All right? For money, you can create anything. Look at Friday Harbor.
Thank you.
Please.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Zanella, can you maybe put on the second, go back to Ann? Okay, that one there. So there is an approved EA by the town of Innisfil and the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority, and what we're proposing is to build the drainage channels that are approved already by your engineers to divert the water north. So you can see our land is highlighted there by the red line, and effectively what we're doing is as the water enters, too bad I don't have an old school pointer. You have one, Marvin? Oh, too bad. So you can see where the water is supposed to enter Bel Air Creek on the image, instead of the water going to Bel Air Creek, there is going to be a new channel constructed to the north, and that channel is going to take the water and push it north into the large wetland area, which is the large circle area just south of the 6th line. So that is part of the approved EA. So my comments to you, Councillor, is the design is already done. It's now just about implementing and constructing the approved engineering design.
And with regards to the land at Maple and Bell Ewart, or Ewart Street, where it's always flooding and it's currently flooded as I drove by the other day, will that be fixed?
That's the intent.
So that's the previous slide to this one. So also included in the EA, you will see here, once again, starting on the left side where it says Bel Air Creek, you can see that there's a channel upgrade starts on the slide. And so the EA proposals channel upgrades from that point all the way to the lake to alleviate flooding through the existing community. Next slide. Next one. Sorry. There we go. So here you can see the blue is the improvements to the existing Bel Air Creek. The purple is the creation of the bypass channel to the north. And the subdivision that we would be proposing would also facilitate the construction of 2 new stormwater management ponds that would have the effect of holding water even further back before it gets into Bell Creek, before it outlets down through the existing community.
Thank you.
Question, if I could, to Director Lee. So I'm trying to put everything in chronological order. So there's the EA that was done with the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, but then there was also the Aquifer Beach study, which was town-wide master flooding strategy, which this council adopted. Do they both say the same thing, so that the plan is already in place?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan, for the question. So the drawings that are the other 2 drawings that were identified were part of that EA South Alcona flood strategy that was done in partnership between the town, the Conservation Authority, and Greenland Consulting, that identified essentially 2 solutions and that's the reason for the 2 diagrams. So one is the diversion of the Bel Air Creek, and the second was that wetland storage solution, where essentially it stores the water and disperses it to the 6th line and down to the lake over a period of time. And those measures were being in place to not only look at correcting some of the existing flooding concerns, but also to support the orbit development that would be coming in the future. That was the first EA process. From there, the town then did an updated flooding stormwater master plan strategy that was approved by council at the end of 2023. That looked broadly at the entire town, recognizing this EA process was already done. The last process that is still underway is in fact an orbit stormwater master plan that Aquifer Beach is also doing. So essentially they did the town-wide save and accept orbit, similar to the way In Services did the master servicing plans, save and accept orbit initially. Aquifer Beach is now doing that last component of the orbit stormwater specifically, and working with the Conservation Authority on the modeling to relook at this EA, but also the overall orbit development and how flooding and stormwater can be addressed.
Thank you. And so can I ask just further to the Bel Air Beach, the Bel Air Creek diversion project, and to answer the 2 people who were here earlier, they thought they'd be shovels in the ground already based on the Aquifer Beach study. And where are we in that process, and why aren't they seeing shovels in the ground?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan, for that question. So the process is underway, recognizing that letters did go out to residents, anticipating that we were ideally hoping to move forward with construction. Once the EA process was completed with the Conservation Authority, it did identify there were a series of land acquisitions that were going to be required. It also identified additional technical reports and modeling that needed to be completed in order to allow for the actual detailed design to be completed. So the town does have a consultant retained to work on the design. We are currently at the 30%, so 30, 60, 90, and then at construction. So 30% at this point. There have been challenges in getting access to properties, including the property that is speaking tonight in terms of being able to complete the additional technical work that was required. And obviously, a number of properties for land acquisition, that process takes a significant amount of time. So we need those processes to move forward in order to be able to complete the design and proceed with construction.
Thank you. Thanks for that background. That's very helpful. Other questions or comments? Councillor Constantine.
My question is to Marvin. So this has been going on for many, many years, for a long time. What guarantee do you have that you can fix it, and who will pay for it?
Okay. One, my client will be paying for it in front-ending and through the subdivision agreement. My client will be paying for that, just as I said, like other clients have paid in the past. All right, what guarantee? Well, we have all kinds of studies going on. The manager of planning has just said what the town is doing and what we want to do, and they're going to build, we are going to build something that works. Otherwise, no use building it. So as much as an engineer can guarantee something, it will be done properly to alleviate the existing problem.
Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you just put the last slide up, please? I just want to read something. That was up, sorry. Thanks. It says, we request council to direct staff to add lands into the settlement area. I missed the last part. As part of official update. Sounds to me like a little bit of bullying. You say we have to add you in, or you're not going to do the work. You're not guaranteeing us that that's going to work, first of all. And second of all, it's opening a whole can of worms. If we add you into the settlement area, then everybody else around the settlement area that's not in the settlement area is want to kind of come to us again and add us in. So I'm just trying to make it, you're kind of alluding that you're going to fix the problem, but you're not guaranteeing you're going to fix the problem. But you want to be added to the settlement area to put your 3,000 houses in there. So kind of explain that.
If I can respond, okay. An engineer signs a certificate. He guarantees something is going to work, all right? That's what Ms. Lee was talking about. That whatever the engineers do will correct the situation, all right? My clients will be paying their proportionate share for that, all right? Now, when it comes to getting into the settlement area, if we continue with the private official plan, that will take years. If it is allowed to go into the new official plan that you're reviewing now, that would expedite matters for us to get building, for us to rectify the condition of and rectify the flooding. That's the key. Once we're in, then we know the principle of development has been approved. Then we go from the macro into the micro points to to designate each and every item in the checklist, but you have to start somewhere, and the somewhere is the settlement area, and we have to be in that to continue. And eventually, we will be in there, but meanwhile, the flooding continues. And I would like to think that each and every one of you, okay, would like to stop that flooding. I would like to stop that flooding. It's 400 meters from my house. Sometimes I can't go in this way. I've got to go that way. And if that way floods, then I can't get in. And there are a lot of people at Bel Air and Maple and Ewart who do not have access to their property today. And it's been going on for a month. So you want us to do the work? Get us in the settlement area. Let's sign the agreements. Let's go. And then the engineers will guarantee that it works. It's like any other engineering feat. There's no magic to it. Get Stantec to sign off.
Can I ask a question, either Mr. Geister or Mr. Vella? So how does us putting you in the settlement area make this happen any faster than if the proponent simply cooperated with us currently so that we could get on with what we're doing?
I think, Your Worship, what this really boils down to is our proposal saves the taxpayer significant dollars. So if we're cooperating with the municipality, you have to purchase that land from us to build the channel, to do the work. And what we're saying is we're going to do that work based on the town's approved design for free. It's not going to cost the taxpayer anything. It's not going to cost the municipality anything. As part of our subdivision design, that land is going to be dedicated to the municipality for free. We are going to do the work for free. So none of these people who live in Innisfil have to pay to correct the flooding. So that's the main reason we're here. Part of that is, yes, we do get to develop our land, but it's a scenario, and this doesn't happen very often. I've been doing this for 26 years. The town wins, the landowner wins, but he's been waiting a very long time to develop his land. And most importantly, the community wins. The flooding gets solved at no cost to them.
So just to follow up on that, Mr. Vella, so right now, it's no secret, houses are not selling.
Yes.
So when would this free work be done on the land prior to houses being sold?
Absolutely. I mean, as Marvin has indicated, the resume of this owner they have extensive construction experience. So they have the ability to front end the work that's needed to build the flood diversion engineering model design without having to build homes because it's that important to rectify the flooding problem.
But let me just address, the market stinks. Okay, I can't be any clearer than that. But the only thing that is selling, all right, in Queensville or Bradford are small units, which that's part of our portfolio. You have semis, you have townhouses, you don't have any high-rise condos. So the market that we're going to address, we feel we can sell. And we wouldn't put in millions and millions of dollars if we didn't think we could sell the product. So the client has really thought about that product. It's not going to be high-rise condos.
Thank you. So I'll just play devil's advocate here for a minute. So yes, this landowner's been waiting a long time. There's other landowners in Innisfil that have been waiting a long time, and they also tell us that if you put us in the settlement area boundary, we will fix the downstream flooding in that section of Innisfil. So at what point, we've got, I'm going to go to Director Lee in a second and ask, we went through this whole official plan process, we've been in it about a year now, and we had to make some tough decisions. There's a lot of people in, and there's a lot of people out. And one of the biggest decisions that we made was, I can't even remember when we did it, but we had to decide, do we just grow Alcona, or do we split it up, and do we do some in Alcona and some in Stroud? And we decided that we wanted to do the latter, and we wanted to have some development in Stroud. And so now you're telling us you want us to take that from Stroud and put it back in Alcona?
No, I never said that. I never said take it from somebody. Never did I say that. And I wouldn't say that.
So where do we get the allocation to service this land that isn't?
Okay, that's the next step, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Each case stands on its own merits. That's principle number one, okay? Every case deserves a hearing. Some have pros, some have cons. Some areas do have flooding downstream, and other areas have terrible flooding downstream. So you've got to weigh these things, and that's why you look at the merits of the case. And I believe that there are merits here, and there are people who really don't want development. You heard one gentleman today, okay? You know, I really didn't want major development in my backyard, but Innisfil is growing, and that's the way it is, okay? So we're putting in a product that is a proper product. We're alleviating a problem that exists, that people are being penalized, and it's getting worse and worse because of climate change, because of what the town did in the past by putting in the sewers and raising the roads. I mean, if you go in that area, look at the trees. They're dead. Why? Because the roads became a dam, and now those trees, their roots have drowned. The trees are gone. The little cedar swamp isn't what it used to be when I used to play there. There were trees. Now look at it, there's nothing, okay? So each case stands on its own merits. We feel we have the merits for us to get in to your official plan now rather than later. And you are addressing a major problem, and that's flooding.
And the last comment I'll make, and then I'm going to go to members of council. So, you know, I think we have to really manage expectations here, because there are places, and the Aquifer Beach study shows it, where there's pieces, and one of the big pieces is that piece in Belleurt that you're referring to is lower than the lake. And if you look at the Trent Severn website and the mapping this year, Lake Simcoe is 20 some odd centimeters, got 20 some odd centimeters higher than it's ever gotten before.
It's 8.5 inches higher than the highest water mark of 217.23. That's what it is.
Which is why, so regardless of what happens, there is, like when we get people calling us saying, you know, pump the water off my yard or out of my driveway, to where? Because if you pump it to the lake, it's going to come back onto your yard, because the lake is here and your property is here. And it has the topographical lines on it. You can show people this.
I know the flow of Lake Simcoe extremely well because of the position I'm in. And when you have backwash and you have a northeast wind, that's difficult to retain the water, okay? But this is an exceptional year for that. We're 8.5 inches higher, okay? We haven't had that before. So we're going to correct, the town is going to correct an existing major problem, and we're there to assist you in doing it. And by putting us in the settlement area, we can do that. The principle of development will have been established once we're in. And that's what we want. And then we can work the nitty-gritties from there over the time period.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. I just wanted to put on the record that this isn't a silver bullet,
Nope.
that there is issues in that area, and that we, the town, the developers, everybody can do as much as we can, but we will not be able to solve all the flooding issues in that area. Now I'll go to other members of council. Sorry, Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. A question to our staff is, can the proposal where they only work on their land, when we have a holistic plan with the Greenland design, can it still work if they're only working on their land and the Cordalucci properties are not included in that design?
Through you, Mayor Dolan, to Councillor Waters. So the preferred solution is the combination of both the creek diversion and the storage on the adjacent lands as essentially a package of both solutions. So if one was proceeding without the other, we would have to go back and evaluate and determine whether there was a need to amend the environmental assessment that was done to implement a different solution. But the current approved solution involves multiple properties and the storage component, large wetland feature as a key feature of the overall solution.
Thank you. Another question would be, knowing the schedule, the way you understand it in terms of the process we have to go through in order to implement the Greenland design, can it move any faster if all of a sudden you have somebody who's going to pay for it? Is it still going to take time to get to 30 to 60 to 90 to get that all done and then implement it? So, and what do you think the timeline is to have that happen? And does this proposal move that schedule up any?
Through you, Mayor Dolan, to Council Waters. So potentially it moves up the schedule slightly in that we would have access to the property to complete the technical work that's required for the diversion portion of the proposed EA solution. As we noted, though, there are other properties involved that we still have to have the land acquisition, acquire the areas for implementing the full solution. So if we don't get access to all of those properties or acquire those parcels, we still can't fully implement and we can't achieve the outcome in an expedited time frame.
So our proponent has been kind of standing in the way in terms of hastening that because they haven't been allowing this onto the property. But now here they are now asking us to implement their plan because they're going to pay for it.
So, I mean, I will say town staff have had multiple conversations with DLR Holdings over my time at the town of Innisfil. We, have had good dialogue about the solution and access to the property, and then things don't continue forward. But we are still working through some of the technical work, and we do still have to work on other properties. So we're trying to do what we can in moving the project forward in the design. But we've gotten to a point where we need access to properties in order to move forward further with the design.
Can DLR refuse selling us the properties if we turn this down tonight?
So whether it's DLR or any of the other landowners, they can refuse to sell us the property, and then the town would have to explore other alternatives in terms of expropriation for the lands to move the solution forward.
Okay, thank you. Just a few comments and then a few more questions. First of all, this property came to the town and we were looking at updating the official plan. We didn't look at the property. We chose other properties because there are literally hundreds of developers out there who want to be included in this. We said, no, not at this time. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that then did you go to the province and ask them whether or not they would include in their reviews? Because we do have 2 more properties which may be forced upon us from the province. Did you go that route in terms of asking the province to get you included in the updated official plan?
The ER process?
Yes.
For new tech and the population?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And were you successful?
No, we were
You were not.
not, but if you would comment.
Well, I can definitely speak to that, Councillor Waters. So the letter we received back from the town, and I don't think it's correct to say you didn't select this property because you have approved a secondary plan which allows for development on this land. We're just talking about the timing at which the development is going to happen. So that's quite different than some of the other properties that you're dealing with relative to this official plan update. But yes, we did submit through the ERO. The province did respond back and did identify the orbit as being a high priority area, but understanding that the town is still working through some items with TOC 1 and TOC 2. That's the letter we received back. So it wasn't an outright no. It was just there's some other things that are going on, which I'm sure council is aware, trying to get the station up and running and some development happening.
All right, so basically twice it's been deferred or, kind of a no, that it's not going to happen. So now we have this last minute ditch effort and all of a sudden you're our water saviors. You're going to save the area. So to me, it sounds a bit last minute that this is going to happen. I think the plan that Greenland came up with is a great plan. I've agreed with it all along. I think it is a holistic solution for all the properties down there, but it has to go through the processes in order to do that. And so I think moving ahead with one part of it without the other part is a no-go. It has to be the holistic scenario so it does its job. If you're only going to do one part of it, then I don't think you're going to get the impacts that you're hoping for and that you're promising us in terms of those residents down there.
Yeah, and I apologize, Councillor Waters, if we made you think that we were going to we obviously can't do the work on our land. So the idea here was that when the work is initiated, which is a town-wide project that doesn't only include our lands, the portion of the work on our land, the acquisition of the channel on our land is at no cost to the town. But we're not suggesting that our parcel fixes the entire solution. We're the beginning of the solution, but yes, there are indeed other parcels that are needed to solve the flooding problem.
Yeah, so that was my point, is that we need everyone at the table
Correct.
to do that.
So what we're hoping is this forms a bit of a model that can be used with other landowners. I'm not sure what negotiations are going on, but if there's community benefits, which is what this is a more common planning term these days. If there's things that a developer can provide that benefits the community, those projects are typically given some acceleration in terms of moving them forward. Mm-hmm. So what we're suggesting is the community benefit here is enormous, and that should prioritize this site over maybe some others, and that's why we're here before you this evening.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Another comment I'd like to make, do you know what the cost is in terms of, I'll ask staff, do we know what the total cost is going to be for the entire project? I think Greenland did say ballpark.
They did, Councillor Waters. I will just need to pull it back up.
Okay, all right. So when you find that.
Councillor Waters, I believe this is 2020 or 2019 numbers. It was about 6.5 million.
That was for the entire project?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
I think this is a bit of an end run, telling us that we should tell staff to include you. If you had said to me, send it back to staff and have some sort of negotiations, talk to them about it, see what, how firm are they going to be in terms of their timelines, all that kind of stuff, I might have been a little bit more amenable to say yes to that, because we're sending back staff. We're going to let them come back to us with their professional opinion. So I think right now we're kind of saying, let's cut out the middleman, which is the planners, and I feel that's not appropriate.
So, Councillor Waters, I completely agree. Andrea Lee and I have known each other for a very long time. We met a couple weeks ago I think staff's hands are tied. There's, staff are working within a realm where this is outside of their control, and we understand that, and that's why we're in front of you. So it's not that we're trying to go around staff, we think staff have made it clear to us the only way to advance this is for us to submit our own private application, and that takes many, many years to do, and the only people to alleviate staff's barriers is council. So that's, we're not trying to do a go-around. We understand Ms. Lee has got constraints and she's doing her job and she can only tell us what she can tell us. And she needs some direction from council in order to do something different. And that's why we're here.
But that direction should be direct staff to go away, research what the opportunity is here in terms of paying for it, and come back to council with a report, not to bypass them and say include you in that update plan. So that's what I'm getting at, is that I think the direction of staff should be a little bit different so that we can rely on our planners to get back to us, as opposed to being on the hot seat, all of us, to say, yes, we want you to include them, but we don't know what the ramifications are. We don't know what the costs are, what's going to happen down the road. And my comment will be, is that Marvin talked about, plans that he's worked on, Geranium, in terms of, Geranium built Friday Harbor, right? And I'll ask anyone on council here, is Friday Harbor what we thought it was going to be in terms of what has come back as? What is it, original plan? No, because things got delayed, things got changed, things that happened that we didn't expect, but because we said yes, we're now in a situation trying to say no.
But
and
are
the same
you proud of Friday Harbor?
I think Friday Harbor is good, but I think it could have been a lot better if they'd stuck to the original plan and not taken EP lands out of the mix, and listen to what we had requested, put the hotel in years ago when we requested. There are lots of things about Friday Harbor that have not worked, and it adds a lot of stress to this council in trying to make what's a good decision for that. So what you asked for at the beginning is not what the final product will always be.
Things mature over years. The economy changes daily. All right? So what you might promise me today may change tomorrow when the stock market goes up or down. Okay? You have to remember that.
Thank you. I'll also remind everyone is that when we heard the orbit, and I was part of that committee, and thought it was such a wonderful development, that it was listed in a magazine to be one of the top 10 sustainable communities in the world. That's the way they defined it. And we built into an MOU around the MZO, that would have made it that. And then, unfortunately, the provincial government took that away from us and handed everything to the Orbit developer. And, we lost everything that we would hope that would have been.
Councillor, I'm just going to ask you to go back on to this
Yes, I will. So my
application.
last point will be, is that they promised us a GO station. And the Ford government promised we would get a GO station. And we're still waiting for that GO station today. So, I'm reluctant to believe that a developer says we will build it when they don't have all the other partners on hand, and we're not going to get the whole picture, as I'm really skeptical about, giving you what you want. In return, we're only getting part of the pie.
And I appreciate what you're saying, because that's why I'm a lawyer. When someone touts something, I say, put it in writing. Put up the security. That's what you always do. You put up letters of credit. When we got together to expand the sewage treatment plant, all the participants of IDAG came up with money, okay? Or they came up with LCs. We signed a contract, and then you went on and you're building it now. So you write it down. You just don't flaunt it and push it. It's got to be in writing, okay? And that's what the subdivision agreement is all about. And if it's not in there, you go nowhere.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. But the problem is that you're a small piece of the puzzle to curing the problem in this situation. So you can promise that you'll pay for everything that's on your land, but everything else around you that connects to it has to be there along with it. So if you go ahead and spend that money, it means it's not going to solve the issue because we have to get Cortel to agree to it. We have to get all the landowners to agree to it. All that still has to happen. And so, I can't, it doesn't, if you'd come here and said, okay, we've talked to all of our partners, yes, just like IDAG, and we're all going to participate and get this done, that would be a different story. But when you only promise a small piece of the puzzle, I just don't think we're going to have the impacts that you're promising. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ices?
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to have a hard time following Councillor Waters, but I'm going to do my best here. Councillor Waters and I were on council the term before this where we passed the orbit, and we all know where we're at with that, which doesn't feel very far. So I guess in considering this, you can understand why council is a little bit gun shy on going through this, and especially as far along as we are with the official plan process. But you did say a few things that struck with me, and one was free, and the other was community benefit. And I think council could have structured this official plan process a little more smartly. Other communities are using community benefit as a strong indicator as to if they get into official plan or not. And I know we haven't passed the official plan yet, so I'm wondering if there's not an appetite that we can, and recognizing the severity of the situation that we're dealing with in the town with the flooding, because you had a slide with the press clippings of it, and it's the same every year, and we heard from the speaker, the resident, that the town has let them down, and I take that seriously when residents say that as a member of council. So if this is a way to start correcting that, I know town is doing work to correct it, but a partner isn't a bad thing, but as I think we've kind of talked around the edges, like the devil's in the details. So is there an opportunity where we can do the way Councillor Waters suggested, where we could go back to staff and see if there's a fit, recognizing that this is a special circumstance. I also wanted to ask staff, currently the secondary plan, I'm transitioning to another point. This property is in the secondary plan, but I don't believe it's scheduled to be developed till 2051. Is that what we're talking? Yeah. Is there a correction there? And that's another huge problem I have with the process we're in now. We seem to be married to this orbit plan, and for good reason, because there's an MZO there, so there's some obligations provincially. But I don't know why we can't somehow try and do things in tandem instead of having wait for one stage to finish before the next stage, and then we're another 25 years before this parcel. And if you look on the map, which you showed us, it's right in the middle of ground zero for flood mitigation. So is there a partnership here that staff can, I know they've had conversations. So if I was going to put a motion forward, I would be, as an amendment, it would be similar to what Councillor Waters suggested, to go back and see if there was opportunity there. But that's just my comment. I know some others probably have comments, so I'll leave it at that.
Anyone else have any comments on this item? Deputy Fowler.
Thank you, Your Worship. What we're seeing here is a long-term versus a short-term view, and I'm hearing a lot of back and forth. And I'm just going to ask planning, when the official plan was put into play, why, knowing that we had the flooding in this area, was this property not addressed? I understand why we want to move up to Stroud to unlock Stroud and build Alcona, but this is a situation that's been happening for literally decades. Why was it overlooked or removed from the official plan in that regard? I know it's part of the secondary plan for the orbit, but is there not a way we can massage it to fit in with another portion of the town's plan to prevent something that has been a systemic problem for decades?
So through you, Mayor Dolan, to Deputy Mayor Fowler, two components. One, the lands are identified within the TOC3 area in the Orbit secondary plan. And the secondary plan does identify that those lands are to be phased and developed post-2051. However, there are additional policies in the secondary plan that speak to any of the lands that are in that post-2051 and criteria that they could be considered sooner than that would have to be addressed. And that was part of the private official plan amendment discussion that town staff had with DLR about 2 weeks ago and had flagged previously. So there are ways that lands could be considered in the TOC3 area sooner than 2051, but it's on the basis of, location of the types of roads that they're adjacent to and that there is servicing available. So to your point, in terms of why were the lands not included, when we went through the growth options report, adopting the evaluation criteria for settlement area boundary expansions last March that Council approved, and then bringing the growth options report in June, we identified that we had 53 SABE, settlement area boundary expansion requests, that were received through the original county OPA process and then the town process, totaling over 3,000 hectares of land. Through the county process and the additional work that we had done, we have identified that we need about 200 hectares of land. So we could not include all of the requests, and each of those requests were evaluated based on that screening criteria. And the DLR lands were excluded for several reasons, including the fact that we cannot service those lands from a water and wastewater perspective because they are in the TOC3 area. When In-Services did the master servicing plan update, those are lands that there is no capacity currently or planned for those lands currently. And so that would be something they would have to address through their official plan amendment. So that was one of the primary reasons for excluding those lands at this point in time.
I'm going to give you a follow-up, Deputy, but I'm going to do something a little out of order with Council's concurrence. So the Lions Club are dearly waiting to hear whether or not we're going to pass their noise exemption. And so I'll just ask, is there anybody here who is going to object when it comes up to the Lions having their noise exemption? So I think you're, like, if you're very interested in this, you want to stay, please do. But if you do want to go, you can do that knowing we're going to pass that. So, okay. Okay, follow up, Deputy Fowler.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so my understanding is that because there's going to be no servicing to the land, there's no potential for any growth, which will then maintain the overflow situation with the flooding that flows over into the region that we're speaking of. Is there any way that this conversation can come back to staff to look at alternatives that they can provide for servicing for the land to move it beyond the 2051? Because if I was a resident and someone said, well, that land's going to be, they got a solution, but we're going to wait, I don't know, it's 2026 or 2051, so what, another 25 years that I got to deal with this flooding, another 25 seasons, another 25 times that I may have to go through insurance, or how many times, or what's going to happen to my home and my land and the erosion and everything else. Is there not a way we can potentially move that up with a conversation if it was instigated? I'm not saying in this official plan, but I mean, move it up to the point that there's a ray of hope for the people who live in the area for the flooding. Is there something we can do with that?
Mayor Dolan, if I can respond to that and be clear that from staff's perspective, implementation of the Bel Air Creek diversion and wetlands solution is not tied to development specifically. That's a town capital project implementing the EA that has been approved by the Conservation Authority. There may be processes the town has to go through in terms of legal processes to acquire the necessary lands, but the town could continue down that process well in advance of 2051.
Okay, and again, I'm not putting anybody's feet to the fire in regards to this. Would you be able to give the residents a rough estimate so they could have an understanding of how the process would work or what they would be looking forward to in the future?
Through you, Mayor Dolan. Deputy Mayor Fowler, I think I'd be hard pressed to give you an answer on that today. I'd have to chat with the legal team about, you know, the processes we might have to go through. If there's objections to those processes, how long can that be delayed? So I can't give you an answer today on, you know, is that a 2-year period? Is that a 5-year period? I'd have to follow up.
If that information could be provided to council, that would be something that when residents come to us, we could provide. So I would appreciate that personally. Thank you.
Councillor Waters?
Thank you, Your Worship. So let's be clear. There is a plan, and it's based on the Greenland strategy in terms of how we manage all the water there. It has a process which it has to go through. So it's not that we haven't been doing it. We've been doing it because the Greenland plan is probably 4 years old now. So we've been doing something to rectify the problem. Whether the developer here gets an opportunity to implement his phase may speed up the process a little bit because we won't have to expropriate them because that's what the process is going to require. We're going to have to expropriate land if they don't sell it to us willingly. And, you know, if they're not in a good mood after, you know, whether what happens tonight, whether that's a longer process or slower process, you know, is going to be totally up to them. So we're going to resolve the solution, but it's not going to be that much faster whether or not we pass, you know, this, no, actually, we haven't even have a motion in front of us yet. So whether or not we consider this tonight, but I would feel more comfortable, as Councillor Icey does, is to send it back to staff, you know, and ask about that community benefit. Is there an opportunity here to move the project along a little faster, because those approvals will happen faster if we have a willing participant in it. So either way it's going to happen. We're going to resolve the situation. We don't have a timeline, but town staff are going to get back to us. So like I says, if we want to send it back to staff to get us some more information in terms of timelines and all that kind of stuff, and whether or not they would recommend that this is a good solution to it that would hasten the whole process up. And like they says, they can, you know, they don't get in until 2051 if, you know, by what we suggest that they can get in a little bit earlier. In return, we get quick access to the property to build out everything that we need to do. So, but like I says, I can't, in all good conscience, you know, bypass staff in terms of something coming back.
CEO Gershow.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Just a reminder to council that we are mere weeks away from bringing the final official plan to council for approval before the summer recess and the election. So sending it back to staff and leaving a fairly large official planning question open would almost certainly delay that process from happening.
The other issue is that with that door open, how many other, 54 other
There
are
were
going to
53 in
say,
total, and I'd have to double check, 12, 13 that were included. So 40-ish outstanding.
so 40-ish others that are saying, wait a second, I have a community benefit. I'm helping. I've been waiting longer than them. I've got flooding downstream. What about me? I think that that having a structured OP, having an approved OP doesn't mean that an OPA can't be done, doesn't mean that a community benefit can't be worked out with an OPA. It doesn't mean that the door is closed for forever. It just means we've been working on this document for a year. And to make a, and I promised Councillor Drodge I wouldn't use this word, but knee-jerk reaction at the last minute to include something that goes against what we already approved and against the criteria that we put forward, to me seems a little reckless and maybe dangerous. And I worry, as I always do here, when council makes decisions on the fly, the first thing I think about is what are the unintended consequences? We don't know what we don't know. And if we do something different than staff is recommending, how is that going to come back? And I'll leave it with Councillor Ices. I think he's got a comment.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I would defer to your experience on these issues, but I would say the community benefit angle, if I may use that term, if we were to introduce that and make it across the board, if you have a significant community benefit, and it's fair for everybody, and it benefits the town, why would we not do that? And I know it's going to throw our schedule off, but I think our schedule's off already anyway. So we're going to lose 6 months in the process. If there's enough community benefit and things that are free for our residents that we normally would have to pay for, I was going to ask staff what the cost of the actual drainage solution we're working on is in this area, just for an idea. I'm not sure if it was mentioned before, but why wouldn't we do that? I think if we had a do-over, we would add a community benefit criteria to the official plan. We're not finished the process. People change their minds. Yeah, Innisfil is a little indecisive. We learn as we go. I think that benefits the community, so I don't have a, personally, I think it's not a bad thing for the town.
Director Drishel.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. I guess one comment of clarification with respect to Councillor Icy's comments, that I think we need to be precise about community benefits and under what authority they're being negotiated, because there is a community benefit charge, for example, which council has approved. Doesn't apply in this case. Some of the other community benefit discussion that's come up, I think, is referring to Section 49 of the Planning Act, which allows for the Minister of Municipal Affairs, not the town, to enter into those negotiations and agreements related to development. So we have to be careful about our own scope for negotiation. I guess I would remind council that, as Mr. Geese said, when you make a deal, you write it down. Nothing's been written down. Like, there is no deal on the table in terms of for free anything. I mean, we have commentary tonight, but just so we're all on the same page, there's no agreement like there is the IDAG agreement or a Friday Harbor agreement at this point in time.
Councillor Waters?
A quick question to staff. Right now, I think we've authorized 135 hectares of property. This would be another 35 hectares on top of that, plus the properties which the province is asking us to look at, which if I'm ballparking, I'm thinking 200 hectares of property. When you have that much more, almost double, well, I guess, 50% more property than you need in order to develop growth for the future, what is the issue? Is there an issue with that, having too much land available? Is it the servicing costs in terms of trying to get pipes to every one of those? So we'll be like almost, like I said, 50% higher than we really need for the growth that we have, and considering what we have right now, which is nothing, it may take us longer to get there. So what is the impact of having too much, or do we have to give up somewhere else when we do this? Thank you.
Director Lee?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan, to Councillor Waters. So the town is guided by the provincial planning statement in terms of the criteria that were brought forward to council last year to consider, and we're looking at those in terms of an identified need for lands to be included. And so the land needs assessment that was originally done by the County of Simcoe had identified approximately 107 hectares of land that were needed for the town. From the time that the County of Simcoe did that, there were changes to the Planning Act that recognized that any MZO lands were to be above and beyond. So the orbit lands, the casino lands, the long-term care home would all be additional and not part of that identified need. So when we completed the assessment through this official plan and review, we did identify an additional 118 hectares of community lands to be incorporated, and that's the rationale of the lands that we have now identified both in Stroud and Alcona to move forward. Then we looked at the remaining criteria, which are also directed by the provincial planning statement on available or planned infrastructure. And so we look at the master servicing plan that In-Services has completed about what is available currently, where is their capacity, and what's planned for infrastructure. And that is all planned to 2051 in alignment with the proposed official plan that does not at this point include these lands or some of the other TOC3 lands that made requests.
Thank you.
So I don't see any more hands. Any final comments from Mr. Geester, Mr. Vella? Okay. A mover and a seconder for the current recommendation or revised recommendation put forward now. Councillor Ices.
I would put forward my earlier amendment to the motion to see if council had any appetite that staff be asked to review this request and report back to council on the merits of it.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Zanella seconding it. Okay, comments on the Councillor Drodge.
That was a lot to listen to. Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Councillor Ices, and Councillor Waters made some good points. We would be negligent to not have this looked at by staff, just on the merit of it saving the taxpayer some money. The timing, these are things that mean a lot to me personally. I believe that the residents in that area have been dealing with this for decades, like Deputy Mayor Fowler had mentioned. I believe that a lot of the work that needs to be done to fix this issue in that area is on these lands. I know there are other areas, but I think the bulk of the work, I would say, is on this piece of land. Yeah, I would support pushing this back to staff for review, and I would hope that staff would involve Greenland plus our engineering, stormwater engineering team, along with DLR to push this plan forward. I did have one question, and it was around timing, and this was to staff. If your staff did come back suggesting that we did approve this into our OP, would the stormwater management be one of the first things done on the development?
Director Lee?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. I'm not sure if that's actually a question for staff because it would be associated with the applicant's lands. From a staff perspective, we'd want to ensure that the works were done in advance of development occurring to ensure that we actually get the solution that we're looking for. So, Councillor Drodge, if that's your question, yes, it would be staff's recommendation that it would have to be in advance of development of the site.
So yeah, I was more along the lines of how procedurally it was working. Like, so for an example, I'll use Guildford Estates. You have to go through your underground certificates to obtain building permits, etc. I would assume that this flood management mitigation that's going through this project would be part of that stage of development. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor Dolan, to Councillor Drodge. I believe Mr. Geese was speaking earlier about those would be details worked out in the subdivision agreement. I think if the motion as it's identified right now, but I think I might need some clarity, the idea is that staff would be reporting back on the merits of the request, and I think those would be components that council presumably would be asking us to report back on, the timing of, you know, how is this truly expediting? What is the cost that's actually being provided by the applicant? I would assume that would all be done now in some sort of report back to council so that council had some certainty before they would give permission to this property.
Yeah, we would agree with that, and we would enter into a front-ending agreement and pay our proportionate share, or all of the share if it's all of us.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, just I did understand that, Director Lee. It was if it came back to council with staff support, just how procedurally it would work from that point if you were to bring it back to council with a staff recommendation supporting including this project in the OP. That was my question. But back to the original recommendation or revised recommendation, I support and would second Councillor Icey's recommendation.
I believe we already have a seconder, Councillor Drodge. But I guess my question to council is, in 2 weeks' time, when there's 6 more delegations, then what? Are we going to look at each one of those? Because they'll all have some community benefit. They'll have some, there's one that is very, up in Ward 4 is very convinced they're going to fix the downstream flooding. So, like, when do we say we're doing this? Okay, I'm going to go to CEO Jershell and then Councillor Ices and Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. I guess just procedurally, I'm wondering if Councillor Ices actually has proposed wording. It'd be best to hear it from him.
I'll need some assistance here, but the gist of it, and I can be more specific to help Mayor Dolan's concerns. You know, in light of the historic flooding issues in the Belle Ewart, Lefroy area and residents, long time being affected by it, council directs staff to consider the report that was presented tonight and report back to staff on its, or report back to council on its merits. Something along that line.
And does the seconder agree with that wording?
Just maybe proposal instead of report in the beginning.
Yep. Thank you.
And who did I say next? Councillor Waters? Go ahead.
Considering it's an election year, do we still have the authorization to pass this if it's August or whenever it's pushed? So are we still authorized to be able to do that or not?
I'll go to Clerk Marshall, but I think we aren't going to be lame duck based on the numbers that are signed up.
Thank you, Your Worship. That is correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
I'm just going to do a what if. So if we were to pass the official plan now, the way it is, and then entertained official plan amendments with community benefit in the future, would that not have the same, Director Lee, I'm just musing here.
Mayor Dolan, I think what the proponent is saying is that would take longer to go through a proposed official plan amendment, given that the town staff are looking to bring the official plan to council. As CAO Gersau said, we were looking at the next meeting of council, so literally a couple of weeks. Assuming council was prepared to endorse that, it would be sent to the county as the final approval authority in June, recognizing that they would still have to give the approval to that document. Where going through a private OPA, I heard them speak to the fact that they are undertaking studies currently. I'm not sure if those are finished or not. They'd have to make the formal submission to the town, go through a public process and make a decision, which would take a number of months or longer to get there. So the suggestion is that being included now from the applicant's perspective would expedite the certainty for them on being incorporated into this settlement area.
And do we have an application? Do we have any technical studies? Do we have anything on this parcel?
So there's no formal application to the town.
Mr. Vella?
I'm trying not to get up again, Your Worship. I apologize, just because this has been going on for quite some time. But we are trying to create a process that doesn't delay Mrs. Lee's process relating to the 30, 60-day period that Councillor Waters was referring to. If we have to submit a private OPA application, that is certainly going to delay the construction of the channel. That is multiple years before an OPA gets approved. We are trying to create a process so that we're not going to further delay the construction of the bypass channel. That's ultimately why we're here, why we're saying we want to be included in the official plan. So the town does have studies from us. There is an environmental impact study that's been completed. The site's been walked, it's been staked by LSRCA. That work has been done, it's been provided to the town. And there are some other technical studies that are ongoing, but those are not yet completed because they're seasonal in nature, and we're undertaking those studies right now as we speak. But I can assure you, Madam Mayor, a private OPA application will delay the construction of the bypass channel in my experience.
So I can't help but feeling being held a little bit hostage here. So we aren't going to cooperate to help build this channel for these residents that we care about so much However, if you let us build 3,000 homes, then we'll cooperate. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, Your Worship, we're cooperating. The offer to you is, once again, the word free. If we cooperate under your current program, you have to pay us. It's going to cost the town money. It's going to cost the ratepayers money to build the channel. We're saying we're going to do it for free. So there's no hostage here. An official plan doesn't allow us to build homes right away. There's a plan of subdivision process, there's servicing requirements. There's many years of work that is still required before we get to build homes. But what the official plan does is it allows the channel to get built. It allows the channel to go in the right place so that the subdivision is designed technically sound so that there aren't problems down the road. The official plan is just the very first step before homes get built. There's quite a process that is involved before homes actually get constructed on that property.
So will your applicant agree to, or your client agree to build this infrastructure prior to having capacity in with our servicing?
Those are the commitments that we've made. There is a servicing issue that we have to resolve. We've been trying to work with In-Services on the servicing solution. Part of the problem why In-Services won't speak with us is because we're not in the official plan. So it's like it's the juggling act. So In-Services requires a certainty for developing the property before they will talk to us about servicing. And that's the communication that we've had with them for years because we have certainly been trying.
But what I'm hearing is if there isn't servicing capacity, you're still committed to spending the money to have that infrastructure built prior to having any infrastructure.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'm sorry, Councillor Drodge.
Thanks, Worship. You actually took the two questions right out of my mouth. You've answered them. Thank you.
Okay, there's a revised recommendation on the screen. Sorry, Clerk Marshall.
Yes, I would just like to double check with Councillor Ices that the wording on the screen is his intent.
I'm comfortable with it. It's simple, and that works for me.
I'm going to go to Director Lee and saying, can you work with that, Director Lee?
Yes, Mayor Dolan.
Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, question, Councillor Waters.
Just quickly, timelines in terms of staff getting back to us, like this next meeting was supposed to be official plan. Can that be moved to the end of June and we would have something back from you, or just in terms of timelines? Oliver?
There's no timeline in this motion, so I think we'd have to take that away. I'm not sure we could commit to a timeline.
And I want councils, because my phone's going to ring off the hook tomorrow with everybody getting in line for the exact same thing. So I just want council's agreement that we're not going to entertain 20 more of these, or even 2 or 3 more of these. Because this is what's going to happen now. It's going to be, how come this one and not mine? Councillor Drodge.
Thanks, Your Worship. Maybe we should clarify that we are looking at this not just on a merit of flood mitigation on a section of our town that's been flooded for decades. Like, I know we had 44 other applications trying to get into our OP, but really, how many would be so specific as this one? I would only question that maybe there's only one other development that would be similar to this. Maybe we should be very purposeful as to why we're even looking at this project.
Thank you. So I'll call the vote with that. All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed. That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on, unless people need a break. Shall we carry on? Because I think we've only just started. We haven't even got to. So is there anyone who needs to speak specifically to something very important that they're dealing with? Very important. Yes, Deputy Fowler.
Thank you, Worship. This regards Bill 100. May 8th, Bill 100 received royal assent, but I want to put out for clarification now in regards to the county and the position of warden or appointed chair, as the case may be, that there's some wording that's been put in and some conversations that's been having with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, that the minister may, not will, may appoint if he does not, then it falls back to county to develop a process to choose the next warden of Simcoe County. However, there is also a discussion put forth by many people to change the date from after the election of the appointment to potentially the last day that someone can withdraw their name from an electoral race. The concern is such that hypothetically, let's just say we have in Bradford, we have the mayor, Leduc running, and then we also have Councillor Ferragini. If Councillor Ferragini wins the election and then Mayor Leduc does not win the election but is appointed to the warden of the community, of the county, right, it could cause some friction. So they're trying to hammer out a reasonable expectation as to when the announcement will come and who will be in charge of choosing the next warden. And so far there's been an understanding that it has to be somebody local. The big discussion is around the fact that it has to be local. Having someone come down from Thunder Bay who doesn't understand the agriculture or the industry or how the commercial works down here, or it's like sending someone here down to Niagara, County of Niagara, and doing the same thing. So it's still in the works. Nothing is written in stone as of yet, but the discussions are occurring, especially at the county level, in great detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Feller. I'll just clarify, when you're saying it has to be somebody local, what you're saying is the County of Simcoe has asked the province to consider it be somebody local. The province can do whatever they want. So I think that's the main message here. And what you're referring to are things that the county has asked the province to consider. Anyone else, anything for that item? Seeing none, we'll go to item 8, which is the consent list, and we'll rip through this hopefully, unless we've got, I don't want to rush anyone, please, if there's something that's important. I'd rather spend more time on the staff reports and less time on announcements if need be. So A1, adoption of minutes. That would be the special council meeting minutes dated May the 6th. A2, the council meeting minutes dated May 6th. B1, the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee meeting. Councillor?
I just actually had a quick question. I just wondered if there was a date yet for the survey that would be going out to the public about the ATVs and side-by-sides, that bylaw, if there was a date set for that to be going out.
Director Lee?
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Through to Councillor Richardson. So the intent of the staff review was that that information would be reviewed. We'd be looking at other bylaws, gathering information, and that was to be the work that's completed this year. We wouldn't be looking to go out to the public until later in the fall into next year.
Thank you. Item B2, which is the Innisfil Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. B3, the Electoral Engagement Advisory Committee meeting. C1, the noise exemption request for 2 Queen Street, Fortify Network Solutions. C2, the noise exemption that we said we wouldn't object to earlier for the Innisfil Lions Club. C3, the CPP for 1633 Houston Avenue, Class 3 variation. Councillor Waters.
I just have a quick question concerning that property. I was just kind of curious, on the key map, it shows two properties, one with a square around it, with a dock, whose dock extends into the neighboring property. So my question is, do they own both those properties, or is what it has nothing to do with what they're asking for, but it was a question that immediately hit me, that their dock infringes on the waterfront of the property next to it. Just
So Ms. Lee or Mr. Montgomery?
Through your worship, Councillor Waters, I'm not entirely, that portion of the property is not the subject of the application. Obviously, we spoke to it in the staff report because it relates to the fact that lot coverage is exceeding the bylaw requirements. It is a pre-existing condition. We can check on the screen how long it's been there for. And it appears to have been there since the 1990s, so it does predate the shoreline bylaw.
And if they own both properties, it would be okay. I have nothing about the application. I think it's fine. That hit me and struck me as a bit odd. So I just wanted some clarification and didn't want to hold up proceedings. So just quickly, thank you very much.
No worries, and you can get that offline because it wouldn't impact your decision on this item anyway. So that's item C3. Item C4, the Hughes Drain Improvement, passing up of the provincial bylaw. Seeing none, C5, the Morgan Russell Memorial Arena electrical services upgrade. I just had one comment on that, and that was about managing shutdowns. So as it did mention in the report, managing shutdowns to make sure that it didn't impact user groups, and I just wanted to thank you for that. I think that'll be important to the community, especially with Stroud Down. C6, the expanding administrative penalties to animal control noise parks bylaw. Deputy Fowler.
I just want to say to staff, I'm really appreciative of the fact that it's gotten to this stage. I think this will speed a lot of things up and help the process overall. The way it was before, it was lagging and falling behind. Now we have an opportunity to move in a more efficient manner to address concerns that residents bring. So thank you for that.
Thank you. C7, the screening and hearing officers for administrative penalties policy and bylaws. C8, the Q1 operating capital financial update. C9, the Road Safety Initiative Fund, traffic calming and former ASC locations. Councillor Richardson.
Again, just a quick question, it might be a dumb question, but what exactly is a speed table? Like what does that look like? Like,
Director Bowman.
Through you, Your Worship. So a speed table, just think of a speed bump, but wider, flatter, and you can put a crossing area over top of them if you were to design it that way. Does that help give you a picture of it? Okay,
thank you.
I also had a question on that one. When I saw the overhead of the Jans Boulevard piece near Nantyre Shores, I wonder when we install these traffic calming measures, are we going to, there's still some existing but faded bike lane lines on the road that still kind of confuse people at times. I wondered if there's an opportunity before we put down these traffic calming that we can mitigate that issue or put up some fresh line painting.
Mayor Dolan, what I would say, in the staff report, it notes the fact that we're making the application, but we would still need to go through the design and implementation of the traffic measures. So that will require the consultant to observe the site, make recommendations, so they would be addressing sort of existing conditions and what would need to be implemented for those measures.
Thank you for that. And next we have item D1, which is our wonderful customer service Q1 results. D2, the municipal law activity. Go ahead, Councillor Richardson.
Sorry, just another quick question. So I saw that there's, in overnight parking, there was 758 tickets that were given out. I just was wondering how many of those are like repeat offenders? So you're going to the same car, the same night over and over again, or not the same night, but the next night over and over again. And if that's the case, does the fine get bigger, and how can we stop this from happening if it is the same car that's getting the same ticket night after night after night? Like, what's the plan for that?
Mr. Harris, whenever you're ready.
Through your worship, to Councillor Richardson. I don't have that data off the top of my head. It's something we could look at. We have the software that tracks the plate, so we can look at the number of tickets issued. One of the data points I don't have in front of me now is kind of year over year for the overnight parking related offenses. I believe that's pretty standard. It is a big number, but it's something we're staffed for during that time of year to respond to those concerns. And then to your last point regarding graduated offenses, for parking-related offenses, we don't have that currently. We are looking at it. I will point to our previous point on the agenda that spoke to the expansion of the AP program to other bylaws. In those bylaws, we're exploring those kind of additional fines for repeat offenders. So we'd like to take that back, work with that, adjust our software, and then look kind of how we can expand that to all of our AP program. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
I also have a question, Mr. Harris, and that's on page 10 of 11 of the report, 331 of the PDF. And it has the chart there about the red light camera, and it talks about the number of orders and then the number of tickets paid. And it doesn't add up. Like if you look at there's been 125 orders over the first quarter, and only 36 tickets have been paid. Some are in the screening or hearing process, and then some are in the plate denial process. But it only adds up to 87 of the 125 orders. And I don't need an answer now, but I'm just curious, like, where that all falls out, and how effective is plate denial when there's no longer a fee for it? Are they still denied their plate, and is there some consequences for not paying their red light camera ticket?
Through your worship, good question. We will take a look at those numbers just to ensure our software is reporting accurately. I will say that there is a bit of a challenge for this report because we had some orders under the POA, some under the AP system. So we'll make sure that's kind of clearer going forward. And then for your plate denial question, that method of collection has proved to be effective. So similar to our parking program where we have that ability to go to plate denial, we have the same ability under the red light program. And while motorists aren't needing to renew their plate, if there is fines levied against the plate, they do need to pay those to be in good standing with the province.
Thank you for that. Seeing no other questions, we'll go to item D3, which is the upgrades to the pool dehumidification unit. Councillor Waters.
Just a quick question. Are the BAS systems replacing older ones, or are these brand new BAS systems for all the buildings?
Through your worship to Councillor Waters, with a look over my shoulder to our manager of facilities, I can confirm that that's a replacement.
A replacement. my next question is that not knowing what the future is of the police station that we currently have, considering they're looking to build a new one, is a good investment to put a BAS system in that building. Are we planning on demolishing that building, using it for something else where a BAS system would be important? So I'm just asking about the viability of the investment, considering we don't know what's going to happen with that building. Thank you.
Director Bowman?
Through you, Your Worship, while I can't speculate on the future of that building at this time, what we do know is it's necessary to maintain the systems that we have in place today and the safe and proper operating of the building. I suspect that should there be a future occupant, that upgrade and replacement would be required in any case.
And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head when the police think to be in that next building, and I'm thinking it's in the 30s sometime, but I will look that up and get back to you on that. Okay, next is item D3. Or have I missed that? D4, my apologies. The Building Safer Communities Project Update. Councillor Richardson.
Just more of a comment. I'm really sad that it's over. It's not available. Like, it's not another grant that's been continued. In a year and 3 months, we helped almost 12,000 people. Half of it was through team nights. There was over 8,000 youth visits. I think it's just a shame that they're not continuing this grant. That's all. That's my comment.
Director Figluzzi.
Through you, Mayor Dolan, to Councillor Richardson, we are very pleased to be able to share that BSC has actually indicated there will be continuing some grant funding provincially for this program. What that looks like for the town of Innisfil, we do not yet know, but we are anxiously anticipating news and how we can reinvest that funding, both in the Teen Nights program as well as the remaining activities under the Building Safer Communities Fund. So more to come.
That's awesome news. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so D5, the Q1 building permits. You waited all that time for no questions, Deputy. Okay, E1, this is a bylaw to welcome our new Deputy Chief, Cameron Smith. And Cameron, if he's still here with us, he is. He made it this far. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and we want to welcome you so much to the town of Innisfil and look forward to working with you. Any remarks, Chief?
I know Cam from a couple of years, and I know that you'll all greatly appreciate working with him. He has the same work ethic that we expect in Innisfil, and we're looking forward to him serving our community and being a strong member of the team.
Thank you and welcome, Deputy Chief Smith. Next, we'll go to correspondence for action. There's none. There's no correspondence for information. Notice of which motion has been given. We do have one, and I know it's late, but I'm going to just take a moment to speak to this because it is National Public Service Week this week, and the letter that goes along with this that's in your package, I don't know if you had a chance to read it, from the chair of AORS, the Association of Road Operators, Ontario Road Operators, or Road Supervisors, I should say, and it outlines some of the behaviors that our staff are putting up with, people throwing things at the drivers, screaming at them in public places, throwing themselves in front of a plow and not moving, so putting their own safety at risk. In Manitoba, there was a plow came back with an actual bullet hole in it. We all get it. It's a tough winter. People were frustrated, but these people are out there doing their job every day. They deserve to be treated with respect. And they get home at whatever time in the morning, and they've also got to plow their driveway. So I think civility just needs to be a little bit more prevalent in our community, and that includes all of the men and women that are in our public works. So we'll be forwarding that motion as is listed in the third section. Next is our consent list recommendation, and we have no items pulled this evening, so we don't have to resolve into committee of the whole. And then we'll just go to consideration of adoption. Oh, I guess I need a mover and a seconder for the consent list continued. Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Zanella. All those in favor? That is carried. Next, we have another notice of motion, but we won't be talking about that till the next council meeting on June the 3rd. And then we'll go to announcements. Is there any announcements this evening that people would like to bring forward? Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. Just a few quick ones. From the YMCA, there's a Home Alone course for those kids 10 plus on May the 29th from 5 to 8 p.m. The cost of $25. Also at the YMCA, May 30th and 31st, babysitting course, 9 to 3 both days, cost of $100, registration required for both of them. There's also a Paint Your Pet workshop at the Stroud Pet Value on May the 24th, at this Sunday, 6:30 to 8:30, cost of $55. Not sure what my pet would look like when it's painted, but you can go find it. Also happy to announce the Innisfil Farmers Market opens for the season May the 28th, next Thursday. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councillor Constantine.
There'll be a strawberry tea on June 27th, and it's a fundraiser for the Leafroy United Church, and it will be held at the Grange Hall, 931 Church Drive. The cost is adult $15, children $10, and under 10 is $8. And there's also will be a silent auction and 50-50 draws. So the date is June 27th.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Councillor Richardson.
Happening in Ward 3 on this Saturday, May 23rd, is Drag Storytime at 1 p.m. at the Innisfil Idea Lab and Library. On May 26th is Skate the Town Square from 5:30 to 8:30. It's the first time we're doing this, and I, for one, am very excited, although I will be watching from the sidelines and not putting on skates. But just a note that, you know, the community fridge is right there, so maybe if everybody brought one item to add to the fridge, we'd be able to fill the fridge as well as have a fun night of skating. On May 28th, the Relay for Life is happening at Nantyre Shore Secondary School. There's a couple of parents from Parent Council that have created our own team so that we can walk alongside the students. If you're interested in joining, message me. I'm on Parent Council. Also for Nantyre Shores, a big, huge congratulations to the Nantyre Shores Triton Band, who once again represented us at Nationals in Niagara Falls and came home with the gold. So way to go, Nantyre Triton Band. And also save the date for all you kiddos that love to read. TD Summer Reading Club starts up with registration signing starting on June the 9th.
Thank you, and please congratulate Mr. Vaz from all of us. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. May 29th is Euchre Night at Innisfil Lions Club, 7 p.m., $13 to play. On June 4th is Gator Day at Goodfellow School, 5 to 8, and there will be vendors there.
Thank you. Councillor Zanella? I have nothing. Councillor Saunders.
The Mobile Senior Center at the Wheel on the Sandy Cove. Everyone is welcome. It's from 9:30 to 11:30. On the 21st, it's games and social. And on the 28th, it's guided painting. Also with the Legion, the general meeting is on Sunday, May 24th, and they have a family cornhole tournament on May 31st.
Thank you. And I'm going to go to Councillor Zanella. She's got Councillor Drodge's announcements tonight because he's got a sore throat.
Thank you. On May 30th, we have the plant and bake sale at the South Innisfil Arbitrium from 8 to 12 p.m. Mobile Senior Center in Cookstown Library, 9:30 till 11:30 Tuesdays. Painting, guide painting is on May 26th, and June 2nd is card and board games and Tai Chi with Amy. And this Saturday, May 23rd, is the Cookstown Antique Market from 8 till 4 p.m., and that's at the Georgian Bay Steam Show grounds. And just a congratulations to the toy store opening, the Clover Hill Toy Store, which opened on May 16th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Deputy Fowler.
Thank you, Worship. It's been busy for the past while with everybody. Pitch-in Day was a resounding success. Congratulations and thank you to everybody who stepped out. My son and I pulled a couch out of the forest on 20th just south of 7th. On the same day, they had color-inspired, My Hero exhibition. We have so many kids in this town that are talented. It is phenomenal. It was mind-blowing the amount of different styles of art that we saw, and if you didn't leave falling in love with at least one piece, you're missing something incredible. We had the South Simcoe Police Auxiliary Badge presentation earlier that we attended. It was really nice to see that. I think it was 13 new members to our auxiliary team, and they're stepping up. And what many people don't understand is they volunteer their time. They get at most a dinner at the end of the year. Like once a year, they get a nice dinner. And they do this of goodwill and for love of community. So when you see them, just say thank you, give them a bit of respect. You know, they're not doing this for anything other than the betterment of the town. A big thank you to Innisfil Community Church with the park being renovated. The ICC has moved the beach cruisers to their rear parking lot every Thursday night. And now because of that, they're having food trucks there, so we got lots of local vendors. So you can show up for the cars, maybe meet one of the lines, purchase one of their tickets, buy a meal while you're there. Everybody wins, and they got some really beautiful rides. Today, I was very lucky. I got to read to the students of St. Francis of Assisi at their book sale today, and it's fun. When you can read the Paperback Princess to kids and then they all get super excited, it just takes me back to my youth. Lastly, on the 27th, at Fennell's Corners in the Ball Diamond, we're having an AED presentation. So it's another opportunity that if someone has a cardiac event at one of the local areas there, this is now another place that we can actually go and potentially save someone's life. So if you're aware of it and you're in the area, just keep an eye on where it is. And I look forward to being there for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy. So, yeah, that covers just about everything except for there is a candidate information session that will take place tomorrow night here at Town Hall. And you can also register and go online if you're not interested in coming in person. And what else did I miss? Also on June 2nd, there is a town-wide open house for our CPPS, which is happening in the community rooms from 5 till 7. And yes, the My Hero exhibition, the toughest thing I've had to do so far this year was judge and try to pick one winner out of those amazing art exhibits. So yeah, it was really exceptional. And finally, to wish our Deputy Mayor a very happy birthday on Sunday. So with that, we'll go to confirming bylaw and adjournment at 9:53 p.m. And that's moved by Councillor Waters and seconded by, let's get Councillor Drodge in here, seconded by Councillor Drodge. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everybody, very much, and we'll see everyone on June the 2nd.